Next question. Yeah, go ahead.
Would that connect with Romans 8:29
8:29?
in any way, shape, or form?
For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. What's the question?
Now, does that have any connection with the firstborn of the dead or the begotten of the dead?
No, it doesn't. Here it's talking about, and remember now, the context of Romans chapter 8 is the two adoptions.
Right.
And you have a spiritual adoption, that's the day you got saved, and then you have a physical adoption when you get your glorified body. And so down here in verse 29, this is dealing with the second adoption, or you getting your glorified body. Look at verse 23. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves grown within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, here it comes, to wit, the redemption of our body. Now, the first adoption in the Bible in Romans 8 up to this point is your salvation. When you got saved, you were adopted spiritually in the family of God. But you haven't got his body yet, and that's a section adoption. There's two adoptions for the child of God. One is the spiritual adoption. The other one is the physical adoption of you getting his literal body. And that starts in verse 23. For we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. For what man seeth, why doth he yet hope for? But if we hope for that we see not, then do we which patience wait for it. And what the hope here is for the new body. Got to keep it in the context. It's not talking about hope I'm saved or hope that the hope that he's talking about within the context is verse 23, the redemption of your body. Got to stay in the context. Likewise, the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities, for we knoweth not what we should pray for as we ought. But the Spirit maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. And he that searcheth the hearts knoweth what is the mind of the Spirit, because he maketh intercession for the saints according to the will of God. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, who are called according to his purpose. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Now the firstborn here is the firstborn of the Spirit. In other words, it doesn't use the word begotten here, but Christ was the firstborn of the Spirit. And so when you look at verse 28, it talks about the fact that the firstborn among many brethren, you and I are the many brethren, but he was the firstborn. And in that, he was the first begotten. And so you've got to put it in the context of what you're dealing with here. And this brings up the aspect of predestination. Predestination, people who believe that men are predestinated to be saved. And of course, Romans chapter 8 is the great chapter on predestination. And it clearly tells you that you're not predestined to be saved, but after you get saved, now you're predestined to get a body just like Jesus Christ. That's what predestination is. Predestination is not that you're predestined to be saved. It's once you are saved, now you are predestinated to get Christ's body. Romans chapter 8, the adoption of the body. So it's connected, but it isn't exactly the same. But that is what he's talking about, yeah.